For the past 2 years, we've been hearing the same prediction over and over again. Artificial intelligence is coming for your job. Programmers, designers, writers, customer support, accountants, lawyers. Almost every knowledge worker has been told that sooner or later, AI will replace them. The reason always sounds convincing. Humans are expensive. AI is cheap. Companies exist to reduce costs, so replacing people with AI seems inevitable. It feels like simple math. But what if I told you the math is starting to say something completely different? What if the biggest companies building AI have quietly discovered a problem that almost nobody outside their boardrooms is talking about? A problem so expensive that it is forcing some of the richest technology companies on Earth to rethink how AI should actually be used. And the surprising winner might be the human brain. Not because it's smarter, not because AI isn't improving, but because your brain is unbelievably cheap to operate. Let me explain. Imagine hiring the smartest employee in history. This employee never sleeps, never complains, never asks for a raise, can write software in 10 programming languages, can summarize a 1,000-page document in seconds, can design an application, write legal contracts, analyze financial reports, translate 50 languages, and answer customer emails 24 hours a day. It sounds like the perfect employee. Until the electricity bill arrives. Because unlike humans, every single thought this employee has costs money. Not metaphorically, literally. Every question, every paragraph, every line of code, every retry, every correction, every moment spent thinking burns computational power. And computational power is one of the most expensive resources on Earth. That's something most people never see. When you open ChatGPT or Claude, it feels almost magical. You type a question, a beautiful answer appears. It feels effortless. But behind that simple conversation, thousands of GPUs inside enormous data centers are working together. Electricity is flowing. Cooling systems are running. Servers are calculating trillions of mathematical operations. And every second those machines continue thinking, the bill keeps growing. AI doesn't think for free. It thinks by consuming computation. And computation costs money. Lots of it. For years, this wasn't a major concern. Most AI interactions were simple. You asked one question, the model answered. End of conversation. The cost was manageable. But then something changed. Companies stopped asking AI questions. They started asking AI to work. Not just answer. Work. Write an entire feature. Debug thousands of lines of code. Read an entire code base. Plan an architecture. Run tests. Fix failed tests. Try another solution. Run tests again. And if that solution failed, try again. Suddenly, AI wasn't generating one response anymore. It was making dozens, sometimes hundreds, sometimes thousands of decisions for a single task. Every one of those decisions consumed more tokens, more GPU time, more electricity, more money. And that's where the economics of AI began to change. Microsoft learned this lesson the hard way. The company enthusiastically rolled out advanced AI coding assistants to thousands of engineers. The vision was exciting. Every developer would have an AI partner. Software would be built faster. Bugs would disappear sooner. Documentation could almost write itself. Productivity looked incredible. Engineers loved it. The future seemed to have arrived. Then finance started looking at the numbers. The more engineers embraced AI, the more tokens they consumed. The more tokens they consumed, the larger the infrastructure bill became. Ironically, Microsoft's AI tools became victims of their own success. People used them because they were genuinely useful. But usefulness came with a price. Every generated function, every explanation, every code review, every debugging session quietly increased operational costs. Microsoft never stopped believing in AI. In fact, the company invested billions into AI infrastructure, custom chips, cloud computing, and partnerships with leading AI labs. They weren't losing faith in artificial intelligence. They were discovering something much more uncomfortable. Even trillion-dollar companies have budgets, and intelligence is expensive. Then Uber experienced something even more dramatic. The company encouraged engineers to use AI as much as possible. Write code with AI. Review code with AI. Generate documentation. Refactor software. Automate repetitive work. Everything sounded like a productivity revolution, until one number caught everyone's attention. Their annual AI tooling budget was reportedly exhausted far earlier than expected. Think about that for a moment. An entire year's budget, burned through in only a fraction of the year. Not because employees were wasting resources, not because the AI was broken, because everyone was doing exactly what the company wanted. Using AI for everything. Thousands of engineers, thousands of prompts, millions of tokens, every single day. Individually, each request looked harmless. One prompt, another prompt. One more refinement, one more explanation, one more retry. None of them felt expensive, but together they created an invisible financial avalanche. Here's the fascinating part. Most people think AI becomes cheaper as technology improves. And in one sense, that's true. The cost of processing a single token has gradually decreased. New chips are faster. New hardware is more efficient. Models are becoming optimized. But here's what almost nobody tells you. As AI becomes more capable, we don't use fewer tokens, we use dramatically more. It's the same reason faster internet didn't reduce internet traffic, it exploded it. When computing becomes cheaper, people simply compute more. The same thing is happening with AI. A chatbot might answer your question in one response, but an AI agent doesn't stop after one response. It reads, it plans, it writes, it checks, it tests, it fails, it thinks again, it rewrites, it retests. It repeats the process until the task is complete or until it gives up. Every loop consumes more computation. Every retry burns more tokens. Imagine hiring a contractor to renovate your house. Every time they pick up a hammer, you pay. Every time they walk back to the toolbox, you pay. Every time they realize they made a mistake, you pay again. Even when the repair fails, you still receive the invoice. That's surprisingly close to how modern AI agents work. And here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. Because while AI becomes smarter by consuming more computation, humans become smarter in a completely different way. And that difference may be the single biggest economic advantage humans still have. Think about yourself for a moment. Imagine you started programming today. During your first week, writing a simple function might take an hour. A year later, that same function takes 15 minutes 5 years later. You don't even need to think about it. Your hands almost type it automatically. What changed? Did your brain suddenly become bigger? No. You accumulated experience. You recognized patterns. You made mistakes, learned from them, and gradually became faster. Here's the remarkable part. Your company doesn't pay your brain every time it recalls a memory. Nobody sends an invoice because you remembered a design pattern. Nobody charges your employer because you solved a bug using knowledge you learned 3 years ago. Your experience compounds, but your operating cost barely changes. Tomorrow morning, you'll probably wake up, eat breakfast, maybe grab a cup of coffee and go back to work. That's essentially all your brain asks for: food, water, sleep. Time to learn. That's it. Meanwhile, AI plays by completely different rules. Every time an AI model analyzes another file, more tokens. Every time it decides to verify its own answer, more tokens. Every time it rewrites a paragraph, more tokens. Every time it searches through a massive code base, more tokens. Every additional thought, every additional reasoning step, every extra layer of intelligence costs someone money. Intelligence in the world of AI has a meter running beside it. The longer it thinks, the more expensive it becomes. That's a fascinating contrast. Human intelligence becomes more valuable because of experience. Artificial intelligence becomes more expensive because of computation. They're both becoming smarter, but only one of them sends a larger bill every time it thinks. This is exactly why some of the biggest technology companies are changing the way they deploy AI. They are no longer asking, can AI do this? They're asking, should AI do this? Because not every task needs a trillion mathematical calculations. Sometimes the cheapest solution is still an experienced engineer. Consider a senior software developer. They open a project. They glance through a few files. They sit quietly for a minute. Then they smile. I know where the bug is. That conclusion may have taken 30 seconds. But behind those 30 seconds are 10 years of accumulated experience. AI can reach the same answer, sometimes even faster. But behind its answer, thousands of GPUs were working simultaneously. Billions of mathematical operations were executed. Millions of tokens may have been processed across multiple requests. To you, it feels instant. To the infrastructure behind the scenes, it was one of millions of expensive computations happening that very second. That's why the conversation around AI is changing. The question is no longer, will AI replace programmers? That's the wrong question. A much better question is, which programmer will AI replace? History gives us the answer. Calculators didn't eliminate mathematicians. They eliminated manual calculation. Photoshop didn't eliminate designers. It eliminated hours of repetitive editing. The internet didn't eliminate libraries. It changed how knowledge was accessed. AI follows the same pattern. It doesn't erase expertise, it amplifies it. A great engineer with AI often becomes dramatically more productive. A weak engineer with AI still struggles to recognize good solutions from bad ones, because AI can generate code, but it doesn't own the consequences. It doesn't get paged at 3 a.m. when production crashes. It doesn't sit in a meeting explaining why customer data was lost. It doesn't make business decisions humans do. Which brings us to the biggest misunderstanding about artificial intelligence. The future isn't a competition between humans and AI. It's a partnership. AI contributes speed. Humans contribute judgment. AI contributes computation. Humans contribute context. AI contributes possibilities. Humans decide which possibilities are actually worth pursuing. And perhaps that's the biggest lesson hidden beneath all the excitement surrounding artificial intelligence. Intelligence has never been the only thing that matters. Cost matters. Efficiency matters. Judgment matters. Sustainability matters. The human brain remains one of the most energy-efficient computing systems ever discovered. It runs on roughly 20 watts of power, about the same as a small light bulb. Yet it can imagine, create, learn, adapt, teach, inspire, and improve itself every single day. AI will absolutely become smarter. Models will continue improving. Hardware will become faster. Token prices will likely fall. But one truth may remain surprisingly constant. The most valuable person in the age of AI won't be the one competing against artificial intelligence. It will be the one who understands when to think for themselves and when to let AI think for them, because in the end, Intelligence isn't about replacing people. It's about knowing where every thought creates the greatest value. And today, perhaps more than ever before, the cheapest supercomputer on Earth is still the one sitting between your ears.